Hello lovely sewing friends, I hope you guys are doing well. So it has been a bit of a week and I haven't made much progress on my sewing projects, but what I have made progress on I will show you. So first of all, remember how I was telling you guys about that like stained glass window idea? So I did all these little swatches here. Now, what I have done is printed out a whole bunch of some designs that I think would look really, really pretty as these like flowers in this like fabric stained glass. So the way I'm thinking about, okay, so I'll take you through these designs first. So got a little tulip and then poppies. I think poppies are going to be so beautiful, especially with like the variety of color, but like, would poppies look good in those colors, or would they kind of fade into the background if other flowers are in these colors? You get what I mean? Like, I love it when poppies are like bright and colorful, so we'll see about that. But I do have like some tulips there, and then here I've got some, they look like little violets, so I thought those would be quite sweet. And then here some like bigger flowers and a few more open flowers. So I'm making progress with that. So what I'm thinking of doing, and correct me if I'm wrong in my way of thinking about this, I'm wanting to, first of all, cut out these templates. So I'll cut like this flower out, and then I'm going to get my fabric and then get that double side interfacing and iron that to the back of the fabric, and then cut that little template out with the fabric. And then I'm going to arrange it on a piece of fabric, and then I'm going to use my blanket stitch to attach it to some fabric, as well as having the heat of the double side interfacing. So that's my first thought of how to do it. However, I'm open to other suggestions, so please comment down below if you've done this before. This is a very like a quilting question, so I don't know whether my regular audience will know much about that, but if you do have suggestions, please let me know down below, because also what I was thinking of doing with these, depending on the fabric type, I'm also thinking about fusing them before using the double-sided interfacing, because that's also another alternative. And then what I would really like to do is, because like I don't have infinite amount of these fabrics, they're all just scraps. So what I was thinking of doing is like making this up on my computer and then scanning my fabric and then using it as like a pattern to like place the colors that I want in the flower design. Or do I just like go for it and just kind of let it develop? Because I think half the joy of sewing is letting it all develop and let it just accumulate how it's supposed to be, rather than planning everything out. And I think that's the one thing I really like about doing something like this, because I don't have to plan everything out. So questions, comments, concerns, please put them down below. And in other news, I'm sure some of you guys here watching will be following me on Instagram, and I went shopping this week. Okay, so I'll tell you about it. So I went shopping. Okay, so okay, that fabric is another fabric. So I went shopping, and okay, so this place, the Fabric Lab, I have seen it in Melbourne for so long, and I've always walked past it because I was like, it seemed like very like difficult to work with fabric. It's not like everyday fabric from what I saw. It was a lot of jacquards, appliques, boucles, like a lot of like very specialty fabrics, which in hindsight, brilliant. And also a great way to like just go in and get inspired. They are more expensive than your regular shops, fabric shops, but the fabric there is so unique and so like one of a kind. I wish I had been in there earlier. So I went in and I found this fabric I'm going to show you. It's so pretty. Oh yeah, okay, so look at this. Oh, look at it. Look at it. Look how gorgeous that is. So, I'm thinking of doing a bodycon dress, right? So, that kind of like, so let me tell you about this fabric first of all. So I walked in and I saw this fabric, and first of all, the colorway is beyond beautiful. It is so gorgeous and I love it. And so I saw the colorway and I was like, and then I picked it up, and it's a it's like it's a polyester, but it's pleated. Let me go. So it's got a bit of a stretch to it, but obviously not a lot of stretch. And so I immediately like started wrapping it around me, and I was like, the only thing that this could be is a bodycon dress. Like, it is beautiful. And then I was like, oh, should I get it? Should I leave it? Should I get it? Should I leave it? And then I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then there was another colorway, but that colorway was pink and red, and it looked a little bit like flesh, like torn flesh. And I was like, no. And then I was talking to the guy, and he said that there are 2 more colorways on their website. I looked on their website. I think there's like a gray and white cream, so it kind of looks a bit like stone, beautiful, but it was sold out. And I think there was another colorway, but I can't remember what the other colorway was, maybe like a green or something. But this one I was like, oh my God, yes. And it matches my nails, so even better, and my top, so done. So I put on my Instagram story, like, hear me out, bodycon dress. And then I had a few people from the sewing community say like, oh, another Instagram sewing person has done that before. And then that person actually contacted me and was like, do it. So keeping in mind, like, I saw the fabric and I was like, I'm gonna make a bodycon dress out of this. And then somebody else in the sewing community already has. And it was actually back in 2023 that she made this dress. And I genuinely had never seen it before. And I was so surprised, because how could I have found the exact same fabric that she had 2 years ago? And I asked at the Fabric Lab if they were dead stock, because I always shop at dead stock places, and a dead stock shop is a shop that buys excess designer fabric, which I thought this was, and I was so surprised to see it. But no, like, they print this, which is interesting. So it's so great to have somebody else in the sewing community work with something like this that is so specialized, because I've never worked with this type of fabric. I've actively avoided this type of fabric because I'm scared to work with it. However, I messaged the girl and I was like, hey, any advice? How do you hem it? Do you burn the edges because it's a polyester? It'll bubble and it won't fray. Like, how do you do it? She gave me so much great advice, and I was so thankful for it. So yeah, I'm gonna be making a bodycon dress out of this, and I'm also gonna be showing the process over on my Instagram. But in the meantime, I just want to admire it. So of course it's fairly transparent, like especially up here, you can see it a bit more. So the way I'm going to do this is, right, I need to put something under it, obviously. So I can either do a nude, a blue, or like a white, or something like that, very neutral, to go under it. So what I'm gonna do is make that base first, and then kind of use that as a guide to make over the top. Because also what I was thinking when I was doing this, so, oh, I love it. So when I have like lots of ideas about this kind of stuff, so this was $56 a meter, so it is expensive for what I'm doing. However, it's going to be an iconic piece. Iconic. So what I did was I got my little sketchbook and I sketched out a couple of ideas on like not the placement, but kind of like the overall shape, because I am an hourglass, so I wanted it to show my hourglass figure without being too overwhelming. So I had 3 ideas. One is a bodycon dress with no sleeves, so sleeveless. And then the other idea was bodycon, but with capped sleeves. And the third idea was bodycon dress with full length sleeves and then have the fire like licking up my forearm. So I thought that was a cool idea. So what I did before I bought the fabric is I sketched out a few different ideas of like where everything would be placed, right? And I think that is so important to visually see it like put down on paper, because this will really affect how much fabric I needed to buy. And especially being $56 a meter, I didn't want to hugely overbuy, because like the difference between this one, the full length sleeves, and the sleeveless is probably like a good meter, if not 1.1, 1.2, because of the curve at the top of the armhole and everything. So I needed to get this right. So for this one here, for sleeveless, it's 1.2. And then for full sleeves, I was like, oh, depending on where I'm going to place it, I might have to get like, you know, in total 2.5. Or if I want to go for short sleeves, you can probably get away with 2, maybe a little bit less, 1.8. But I found this really, really helpful, because as soon as I put it all down, I was like, oh, I'm actually not too keen on the long sleeves. And I think it's going to be such a beautiful statement piece that you actually don't want it to cover up your whole body. Like the beautiful aspect of this is that it's like straight in your face. You're not looking anywhere else, and like you can dress it really chicly, like high top bun, like really beautiful makeup, high heels, or you can go really casual with like sandals, sunglasses, bracelets, and just super chill. So, and I think with long sleeves, it kind of would be too much. So I've decided to go sleeveless. However, I am very glad I got extra. So I got about 0.8 extra than was like the minimum that I needed, because this being a pleat, it moves like that. So like when I go and do the bodycon, I obviously need a bit of movement to it and I need ease, but I don't want so much that like the fabric looks like it's swallowing me. So I have to be very precise when it comes to that. But also I would much rather get like half a meter, for example, half a meter extra and not need it, than be short 10 centimeters and really need it. So, and this also gives me lots of wiggle room to later on maybe add sleeves if I want to. So what I'm going to do with this project is I am going to, first of all, draft up a basic block for the under part, the underdress, and I don't know what fabric I'm going to choose for that. Probably just like a really lightweight cotton, but I think color is going to be the most important aspect of that. Like if it ends up being like a viscose lycra or something, it's like I don't really care as long as the color suits the outfit, because that has potential to really stuff me up on this. So I'm going to make the base, and then I'm going to plan the dress in this fabric and see exactly how much I need. And let's say, for example, I have like, you know, 60 centimeters or 80 centimeters extra. I reckon what I'm going to do is make like a basic tank top like this in the excess fabric, just to trial it. Because can you imagine I'm sewing like the side seam on this dress and something happens and like I rip it, or something annoying happens that I could have avoided if I just did like a little tester project with it. And especially I've never sewn with this type of fabric. I've been sewing for 20 years. I've never sewn with this type of fabric. So I don't know how to sew with this kind of synthetic pleating. So please, if you've got any advice, please put it below, because I don't, so for example, I was like saying to the guy in the shop, I was like, oh, do I baby lock it? Like, do I hand hem it? Like, do I leave it a raw edge? Like, I don't know. So I really think, well, one thing I can always do is play around with the raw edge, how it's been cut already, and just kind of like, oh, sorry, hiccups, see how I can work with that as it is. However, I think this is just gonna have to, because I don't want to sew it when it's like this, when it's taut, because as soon as it goes back, it's going to change the whole look of it. So please help. Please let me know what I can do with it and like how I can work with it, because any advice is always good advice, because so sorry we got cut off. But if you guys know anything about sewing with this type of fabric, or have any advice on doing these kinds of things, please comment below. It would be very, very much appreciated, and I will